How did the idea of Womensphere come about?
Divine inspiration. So it's not a new idea. The idea for Womensphere is not new. There are many different women's organizations
Right.
that support women. I've benefited from that myself. I really decided, I chose to take on not so much the issue of women. I don't see it as a women's issue. I see it as a massive opportunity that's simply truly waiting to be unlocked. Just imagine how much better the world would be if more women could succeed in fulfilling our dreams. So it's like this bright shining object,
Right.
And in my own life, there have been three causes, I suppose, that I've really been very passionate about. Economic development and solving poverty is one. And I come from a country, the Philippines, where there's a lot of economic development work that needs to happen. Sustainable development and using innovation to enable sustainable development is something I've been very passionate about since I was a teenager. And then women's development as leaders, girls' development as leaders is something I've been very passionate about. So between those three causes, I've actually devoted 2 decades of work, both professionally as well as extracurricular. And so when it came time to think about what organization would I start and which of these causes could I get behind, what's great about investing and focusing on unlocking the potential of women is that actually also has multiplier effects for economic development and poverty and sustainable development. If you think about half the world, half the world's population, and what their thoughts are in sustainable development, how they can enable that, and how they can inspire innovation to enable a sustainable society, or how they can be drivers of economic growth. I think I'm able to actually tackle all the areas I'm passionate about by investing in women. And so that's how Womensphere came to be.
Can men or maybe people of other sexes, the world so open today, join Womensphere?
Womensphere actually has men in it. Womensphere. So, so Womensphere is about a community. It's about building a community of people, women and men, of institutions, of networks, of companies, academic institutions that really care about investing in women. So we absolutely want men to invest in women. We think it takes a partnership for anything to succeed, and so we think it takes an entire society to really get behind a cause, for that cause to be successful.
Womensphere does many things, but for you personally, what do you think is the biggest achievement of Womensphere so far?
I think the inspiration that we've shared that has changed lives is one of our biggest accomplishments. The women that come to participate, we've done 22 conferences and forums in the United States and in Europe. And so we've touched 3,500 lives directly over the last 4 years of women and men that have participated in our summits. And when I hear stories about how a scientist who is already an award-winning scientist has been given courage to actually pursue something that is even more groundbreaking because of her participation in Womensphere, I get very excited by that. And we hear all of these stories of women that have decided that, I'm going to pursue this path, or women that have created connections with each other so that business is actually being developed, or they're finding an investor within the Womensphere community. These are all very exciting, stories that come back, and we want to create more of these. And so what you'll see us do in the future is actually not just more of these types of activities, but more measurement of the actual impact of what we're doing. So we're asking the community to report back anything great that happens to them by being part of the community. We're asking the community to actually consciously invest in each other and to tell us, when they're making that investment. It's very exciting.
Right. Do you run Womensphere as a business venture in itself?
Womensphere is structured as a for-profit entity. So it is, it's an LLC. It's not structured as a nonprofit, and there are a number of reasons for that. Think of Womensphere as a social enterprise. It's a mission-driven company. And if you think about, a number of comparables out there, Feed Project, which has donated $6 million to the World Food Program, is actually a for-profit company. Ethos Water, which donates to clean water. So there are a number of comparables. I think Whole Foods is like one of my favorite, social mission-driven companies. Being structured as a company allows us to grow faster and scale faster. It allows us to tap upon different sources of capital so that we can actually expand what we're offering to women. And the difference between a traditional for-profit company and a social enterprise is your traditional for-profit company, basically, whenever you have net profits, it gets shared with the shareholders or it results in stock price increases. With a social enterprise, what happens is when you have net profits, it gets reinvested in expanding the operation so that more people can even be served. So that's what we are. We're a social enterprise.